Hey guys, welcome. Hey Nancy,
Hey,
did I catch you by surprise? This is a good time for you.
I'm ready.
All right, excellent. Welcome guys, welcome. Come in, come in. We've got a very big show for you tonight. So of course we're talking about the social studies standards. Why are we here talking about it again this week? Well, we just got a couple of news stories out in the last couple of days, some of which you probably saw. But first we're going to recap. So Nancy, I mean, we've had a very busy week. It feels like it's been 2 weeks since we talked last.
Yeah. A lot going on.
Yeah, a lot going on. July 4th, of course, we celebrated. And I hope you did too, honoring all of our troops serving in past and present, future as well. So last week we were talking about Jamie Falkenberry and the DPI. And let me just catch you up. Jamie Falkenberry is the right-hand man of Catherine Truitt. Catherine Truitt is our superintendent, Republican, who ran on, elect me, I'm going to make changes for all the schools. Definitely a message we can count on, right? We are going to stop critical race theory. She said it over and over again. She says it all the time. She is out everywhere that she can get a platform saying, I hate critical race theory. We will not have it coming from the top down. Her right-hand man is married to a lobbyist who lobbies for educational products that contain critical race theory and social emotional learning or SEL products in it. So we have filed an ethics complaint. We did that last week. We do not believe, by the way, this guy, let me tell you what he does at the DPI. He is the guy that is responsible for going all to the legislators and asking the legislators for money, state taxpayer money for programming that the DPI needs. Problem is he's lobbying and he's also getting money for his wife's clients because they accept state money and federal money to survive. So he's got a dual interest here. He's gone after us completely. He's gone after our parents. He's gone after our teachers. He's actually selling our students out. So at the highest level, we have corruption here. We don't know what's happening. We hope that Catherine Truitt does the right thing and gets rid of him. We need to do that. I mean, right now, the DPI and Catherine Truitt leading it is acting like the NEA. Let me tell you who the NEA is. The National Education Association, biggest teachers union, biggest union in the country. They are mean as you know what. Mean, nasty, and brutal. So the NCAE in North Carolina is their sister organization. Just as rough and tumble and mean as nasty as you can get. They have absolutely declared war on really the country. They're coming for our children. Let me tell you what they did. NEA said, we're going to be teaching critical race theory. Let me tell you what. So the idea that critical race theory is not being taught, that has been exposed as a complete lie. Critical race theory is a movement, and the movement is marching through K through 12. We all know that, right? So NEA comes out with this announcement. We are going to do oppo research. We're going to dox and really destroy the lives of any parent or teacher that comes forward and fights critical race theory. Again, I don't see any difference between the DPI in North Carolina run by Catherine Truitt and the NEA. Since we have been speaking out, they have come after us. They even had sheriffs to try to arrest me should I show up at a meeting. So they have been mean, nasty, and absolutely brutal. And so I look at really the DPI as an arm of the NCAE in North Carolina, and it's unfortunate. And so we had a brave teacher, a member, an EFA member by the name of Suter Conrad from Charlotte Mecklenburg Schools that came out and really was talking about on Fox News last Thursday, talking about her critical race theory teacher trainings that she's done in Charlotte, 4 forced repeated teacher trainings where she was forced to identify herself as a white supremacist. I'm going to get this slide up here for you because a lot of us like to see this. And she came out and said, look, it's not good for teachers. We haven't been getting along at all since this has started. It's definitely not going to be good for children. And she spoke up about it. And so what we're doing, and we're committed to doing, is protecting our teachers who speak out. So this is what you're looking at here. Let me see if I can make it a little bit bigger for us to see. You'll see that, having to consign herself as a white supremacist and to give up her rights is something that the teachers had to do. I'll show you a better picture of this. Anyway, she spoke out. We're standing behind her, and we're asking all of you to stand behind her as well. Suter Conrad is her name, and we just need a lot more of her. And so again, just for the recap, we're getting more teachers standing up and speaking out. They're about 30% of our movement, by the way. I want you guys to know. So 30% of our movement, they're brave teachers. So a lot of us think, oh, well, the teachers are involved in this. Very few teachers are involved in teaching critical race theory in schools. Now, we have talked about for the last 3 months the duplicity of Superintendent Truitt. Again, she wants all of you guys to look away from the state level. She's telling you, I have no control. There's nothing that's going on in this state that I have any control over. And I want to tell you guys that there's absolutely nothing to see here up at the state level, Handle District. What we have going on here, what we have is Common Core from Hell. It's called SEL, Social Emotional Learning. We've talked about it. We're going to keep talking about that. And she's lying to us, guys. She's saying there's nothing to see here because she doesn't want us to look. The copious amounts of money that's being spent on these programs and the absolute, abuse that teachers are taking from teacher training that is going to be sponsored from the DPI all the way down. It's a federal program. It's a state program. She's doing one thing. She's telling us another. Let's talk about the social studies standards. That's the clearest example, Nancy, of what's going on. I mean, she told us, nothing to see here. I'm going to let you take it from here. But just all kinds of crazy stuff going on.
Right. So I've been following the standards. You've heard me talk about it before in detail for quite some time. Mm-hmm. Both meetings and press releases afterwards and quotes. So if you remember correctly, when the standards were passed in February, there was a 7-5 vote in favor along party lines to pass the standards. Catherine Truitt, the day the standards were passed or the day after, released an official statement that for nearly 2 years, the department had worked to create consensus among hundreds of educators and stakeholders statewide. This was a similar thing that James Ford, incidentally, would say during the meetings, is that they've worked on this for 2 years now. And, we've been through this 2 years and therefore they need to be approved as if the time mattered. Honestly, I think it should be as much time as it takes to get it right. But anyway, so she's kind of saying that. And then she said, I'm disappointed there was not a unanimous vote on these standards because the DPI and Board of Education created them, and they're both inclusive and encompassing, and they show, that we can be successful in teaching all aspects of history. So my interpretation of this is that she was disappointed that, people opposed the standards and she thought they should be passed or were good enough to be passed.
Let's talk about who those people were. And so what Nancy is saying is that, Catherine Truitt made the argument back in February that, look, teachers have spent a lot of time on this. We're in a time crunch. These are impeccable standards. We love them very much, pass them. And the 45,000 of all of us who signed on to a petition saying, we do not want racialized standards. The 45,000 of us, her base, the people who sent her there, she doesn't know why we signed that petition. Our lieutenant governor, who said these standards are terrible, they're going to fail our kids. He was right, by the way. Mm-hmm. She said, I don't know why he voted against them. And then there were 4 Republicans on the board also saying, I don't know why. In other words, she's siding with James Ford, taking up for James Ford and attacking us back in February. Go ahead, Nancy.
Right. So there's a clip of Mark Robinson on January 27th that I happened to go back and record because I thought he had an excellent answer. And we can hear him say, these standards fail our children. And I think, or will fail our children. And I think that's a very important statement to remember that he said and that he was willing to say as bluntly and as politically incorrect as he could. He was very strong about it in front of the board at that meeting. I think it's very important to remember that he said that because it'll circle back at the end of this timeline. So
okay, I'm trying to get that up here right now. And so we have Mark Robinson who absolutely said, look, this is not This is not going to work. Let's see if I can play this and have you guys hear it. Let's go.
Yeah, it's at 2 minutes.
What I believe about those subjects, if I entered the classroom with the intentions of putting that agenda over the agenda of educating those students, I have failed. And I believe we have failed with these standards because I don't care what anyone says. You want to speak plain? These standards have put an agenda above the education of our students.
Right.
It doesn't, I don't care what anyone says about it. I'm not backing off of it because I see it and I understand it. So,
okay.
So that was very strong. And he says, we are failing.
Right. And then he said, Nancy, the superintendent said, this is the greatest thing since sliced bread. The people who voted for me, the people of North Carolina, the people I represent, you guys go pound sand. You don't know what you're talking about. Mark Robinson, you don't know what you're talking about. Republicans, you don't know what you're talking about. I know what I'm talking about, along with my sidekick, James Ford. Go ahead.
Yeah. So the standards passed. There was a lot of uproar about it. And next on the dock were the supporting documents. So the DPI had 4 months to do these supporting documents. So far, they've passed the glossary for K through 12 and the K through 5 supporting documents. And of course, there was controversy over, once the standards passed, how much influence it had at the local level. And there were several, including Truitt and some conservative news journalists, saying that it had nothing to do with the local level, that local districts could come up with their own curriculum, and that, if they didn't really like the standards, it wasn't all that influential.
Okay, so I want to circle to that again and tell you that, journalists from all stripes, in particular, for some reason, really conservative journalists, local journalists, have said there's nothing to see here at the state level. There's not a thing that the Board of Education can do. There's not a thing that Catherine Truitt can do that will affect the district level. I'm here to tell you we have a couple of issues. The social studies standards will absolutely, positively affect every school. I mean, the EOGs are tied to it. Well, maybe not, but all of it is tied to it. You're here time and again. Mark Robinson saying this, and I believe him, and Catherine Truitt telling you this, right? So that's number one. Number two, we also have the SEL, which is Common Core, coming from the top down. So we absolutely, positively have to stop this at the district level for sure. But the district, we're talking to a lot of very conservative districts, school board members who want to keep this out, and they're saying, look, it is so embedded and tied to funding up at the state level. If we wanted to, we couldn't do it. And I believe them. Go ahead.
Yeah, and conservative journalists at the time when Common Core came out actually said that we all know that the curriculum is directed towards the standards, and it's a distraction to say, well, you can fight it just on the local level. And that was an open letter by a conservative journalist to Pat McCrory. AP Dillon wrote that in January 2014 in an open letter to Pat McCrory because he at first supported Common Core.
Okay, so she went after a Republican, right? Mm-hmm. Okay, I got you. So I want to show you guys just so we can get clear. So the glossary, Catherine Truitt promised all of us, and we believed her. We wanted to believe her, right? Let's be honest. We wanted to believe her that these certain terms were taken out. I want you to see with your own eyes that they weren't. So structural, or is it structural racism, systemic racism? It is put into the glossary. Teachers are expected to teach it. Students are expected to know it, right? This is coming in from the Aspen Institute. Aspen Institute is as far left as you can get. Julie, you're right. Julie, you're right. This is Action Civics. This is what it is. We know what it is, and we've been telling you this is from the top down. So again, I want to tell you that, this is top down stuff. You don't believe it, and to your peril, right? This is another thing. Identity. So gender identity, where they're going to be teaching your children in kindergarten. I am not kidding you, to explore gender identity. That has no place in school. Reading, writing, and math, at the window. This crap, it's not only in the social studies, you guys, it's in every single one. Tanya, you're right. The Common Core wasn't any good. And I want to tell you why Common Core wasn't any good. And actually, I want to show you as well. Common Core was not good. And this is just the left-wing critics. And they're right. It says that Common Core exploded the differences between Black and white achievement. It exploded. And I want to show you what the graph, what it did into North Carolina. And I want to see if you agree. Okay, so check this out. This you're going to see 2 stars. This star was when Common Core in North Carolina was voted on. You'll see when it gets enacted. So you'll see right about here, right? People are pretty hunky-dory. We're number 19 in the country as far as the quality of our schools. And look at the plummeting. Now, this is 2019 with this red star. This is when they enacted critical race theory, or SEL. In 2019, they said in North Carolina, wow, to correct the problems that the white progressives visited upon us, Bill Gates et al., with Common Core and that gap. Look at the achievement gap now. Here's white, or here's Asian. Here's white, and here's Black students. So to fulfill that gap, we're not going to admit that it was Common Core and that was a failure. We're going to triple down on Common Core. And guess what? We're going to stop scoring kids. We're going to stop making it merit-based system. We're going to stop scoring schools, right? We're going to take all that out so that you really won't know how crappy the students are doing. That's what's happening now. That's what we're fighting. This is a battle right here. Yep.
It's easy to erase or show you fixed inequities if you have no measurements for them. So by getting rid of grades. Right. So now we're in the time frame of forming the curriculum and the glossary. And we have a clip of Catherine Truitt, who had promised, she was taking care of specifically systemic racism, gender identity, and systemic discrimination.
All right, so let's hear that. Shall we hear that now?
Yeah.
So
June 10th of this year.
Yeah. Got it. You ready? Here we go. Got to listen hard. Ready, go.
Was to take out of the glossary of the standards the terms systemic racism, gender identity, and systemic discrimination. That was all I could do.
Play it one more time from the beginning.
Okay, you ready?
Gender identity, the terms systemic racism, gender identity, and systemic discrimination. That was all I could do.
Okay, so guys, we have her there. This is 3 weeks ago. We have her there admitting, or saying she wasn't admitting anything. We didn't know, but she was not being honest. She said, all I could do was take these terms out of the glossary. That's all I could do, you guys.
Yeah, she specifically said the glossary of the standards. And I was there at that meeting. So the intent or the takeaway from the people who were at that meeting, and that she knew it was being videoed and it went online at YouTube later, is that she was able to take those terms out of the glossary of the standards. So it was kind of a surprise when the new glossary came out after the original plagiarized version had come out right before that, and she had to redo it in 2 weeks. That the second version, so the first version of the glossary that was plagiarized off of CRT and social justice websites around Memorial Day, she had to turn it around in 2 weeks. But that, interestingly, that first version didn't have systemic racism, didn't have gender identity in it. The second cited version of the glossary that was approved 1 week later from this meeting where she said she took those out of the glossary had systemic racism and gender identity in, fully defined and cited, and systemic racism included the concepts of whiteness and privilege.
Privilege is back in the glossary, you guys. White privilege. Do you want, this is a joke. And so she's been saying one thing and doing the other, and good-natured people that want to give her the benefit of the doubt have done so. What she wants to do is mollify all of us to make us quiet. We are very effective. Our parent and teacher group is very effective. She wants us to be quiet and to go away. We're doing no such thing.
Yeah. So on June 10th, she says at this GOP event, which she knows is being videoed, that she took out of the glossary of the standards those terms. And that was what she could do, and she did it. Then a week later, at the scheduled Board of Education special kind of meeting to redo this whole initially bunked up glossary in the first place, she was asked directly by Jill Kamnitz what she thought of the recommendation to approve the glossary. And I don't know, we played that clip before.
Should we play it now?
Yeah, so now we have her to what, and she said she's gone through it page by page, so you can listen to her words.
All right, guys, so she had this meeting in Orange County. We just played that for you. A week later, she says this at the state school board meeting. Go.
Thank you for your introduction, Ms. Kamnitz, to this agenda item. And in the interest of time, I will leave it with that.
Does the recommendation come with your, are you concurring with the recommendation of the staff for approval?
Absolutely, I am concurring. I have personally viewed every single page of what is being presented today, and am entirely satisfied with the work that's been done. And I would like to thank Maureen Stover for immediately jumping in and offering to help. And
okay, so there you have it. She looked over the glossary. The glossary, again, they put back in there white privilege. They put in there gender identity, systemic racism, and there's another one.
Well, one of the other words she had sought to take out was systemic discrimination, but I think that's the same as systemic racism.
Okay. Oh, well, yeah, I mean, yeah, absolutely. And so, look, we're being lied to. We're going to keep looking at the state level. We're going to keep putting pressure on there. And we're going to keep pointing this out. I mean, we've got an article up today that says, yeah, as far as the social studies debacle, who got it right, who got it wrong? Mark Robinson got it right. He got it right from the very beginning, because tell him about the Fordham Institute. This is the major think tank, a major education think tank, has given us what? Tell us what happened.
An F and a D minus, a failing grade, as Mark Robinson predicted back in January. A failing grade on the civics and U.S. history standards. And there's criticism in that people say, well, it's a conservative think tank. You know, they're going to be biased against our state with the...
No, they're not. They gave Massachusetts an A.
So I was about to say that.
Yeah. I'm to share a brain.
Yeah.
The most liberal, I mean, arguably the most liberal state in the union got an A. And so I don't know that they're conservative, but they're not far left. I find them vanilla, to be honest with you.
Yeah. So actually North Carolina in the past, I think, has been somewhere in the Southeast. I'm not sure what rank, maybe not first, but not last. This year they're last. So
we're last.
Not only did they give us an F and a D minus for our new social studies standards this year, we're last in the Southeast. And this conservative, you know, whatever the criticism is that it's conservative and they're biased and blah, 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 gave California and DC like good scores, which are about as liberal as you could possibly get. So that kind of takes that argument, kind of knocks that down a level. And I would absolutely agree. And interestingly, who else agrees with the Fordham Institute now? Do you know the answer to that one? I don't have a recording of it. Catherine Truitt agrees.
Oh, well, I do. Let me go. Okay, so I'm going to show you. This is the article that Nancy and I just published today. And let me see if I can get this up here. Okay. Awkward. Keep talking.
Yes.
So, yeah, I mean, who agrees with it? Yeah, hold on.
So
yeah, we're agreeing with Catherine Truitt for the first time.
But interestingly, it's a lot different from her statement in February.
Well, yeah, it's you know, legions away. I think she had to cover her posterior.
Right.
Let me try one more time to share this. If I can't share it, then I'm just going to have to read it to you guys. And I think you're going to, oh, right. Okay, here it is. All right. Can you see it now? Okay, so I'm still going to have to read it to you, which is okay. So when in February, here's what Catherine Truitt said. She said, Gosh, for nearly 2 years, the department has worked to create a consensus among hundreds of educators and stakeholders statewide over the history standards. I'm disappointed there was not a unanimous vote on these standards today because the Department of Instruction and the State Board of Education created them to be both inclusive and encompassing. That was my dramatic reading, by the way. Well, inclusive and encompassing means a handful of nothing. Here's what she said last week, immediately following receiving an F on the social studies standards. Here we go. I felt like the standards were not well written, Truitt said. I felt like they were not grounded in the discipline of history. They lack specificity. They're scattered organizationally. And those things combine to form a set of standards that are challenging for teachers to understand and devoiding of historical context. Was that enough?
That was interesting.
I'm telling you.
Monologue.
Thank you. I'm not going to quit my day job though, because if I do, who's going to clean up this mess? And so she's covering her ass. That's exactly what she's doing. She was all down with the teachers union and James Ford and all that in February, wagging her finger at us. How dare you? I know what I'm doing. Well, and I got it. She don't got it. The Board of Education don't got it. The drafters of this don't got it. And that would be Rodney Pierce, James Ford, and some other people we'll be talking about. Look, these are radicals. These are not really teachers, you guys. Teachers have a calling to help students, and they have a calling to get it right. They care deeply about the content of their stuff. I mean, you know, they care about developing things in an orderly, sequential way in order to make children knowledgeable enough to be functioning citizens. No one at the DPI seems to give a damn about that, especially when they allow spouses who are lobbying for critical race theory. They're telling several stories. Nancy.
It's embarrassing. It's a joke. Coming from a medical perspective, your patient died. I mean, we're flailing away and our education system is dying, and these people can't keep it straight for more than 2 months at a time, or a month at a time, even a week at a time. 1 minute you're being told that these were taken out of the glossary. The next minute you're not being told. Actually, you have to go search for it, that they're back in the glossary. And then you have to do all of your own research. And I even, at the time, I emailed Catherine Truitt's office, the communications director, Blair Rhodes, asking why there was a discrepancy, why those words appeared in the second glossary, even though Catherine Truitt had publicly said in the past they weren't going to be in the standards in the glossary. And she said, well, she just promised they weren't going to be in the standards, but had to negotiate for that. So she allowed them in the glossary, which makes no sense.
It's a lie. I don't say lying often. These are lies. We're not playing around. This is not a joke. This is the education system in North Carolina, what you're looking at. I'm going to give you a link to that in just a minute. This is off the DPI's website, by the way. Let me tell you what you're looking at. 3rd to 8th grade math. 3rd to 8th grade reading and math. 3rd to 8th grade reading and math. You are looking, the first star is when Common Core started. So we have to accept it didn't really get a full rollout until here, and then boom, in the crapper goes the scores. You're looking at 3rd to 8th grade reading and math. That's what you're looking at right here. This star is when they said, hey, we've got a great idea up here at State Board of Ed. We're going to roll out Castle SEL. And so now that's being rolled out. And now we're being called, you know, all these names, but this is rolled out from the state. We have talked to more than a handful of very conservative school board members that say, we can't get this out because the DPI has it. I mean, it's been done over the last year. Has it so entrenched? There's nothing to replace it. Guys, they have it. They have this SEL tied into English, math, and threat assessments. So if a school board member votes against a threat assessment barometer or a suicide prevention, they're never going to do that because that is not what a school board member wants to go on record and doing. And so what it is top down, and we've got to get it out. We are going to get it out. We're definitely going to get it out. What we're talking about, by the way, looking at for public records is what we do all day, every day. We do something called FOIAs, right? The documents that the DPI has, I don't care who they are, the schools have, they are not theirs. They are ours. They belong to the people. By the way, these people work for us. Their job, their only job is to do what they were voted in to do. That is their job, not to overlook people lobbying, not to call us liars, moms and teachers, to do their job. So I've been doing this for a while. I'm a journalist. I've probably written close to 500 FOIAs, if not more. I have never been asked to pay money from a government agency to receive documents. The DPI gave me a few documents. It took them a while, but they gave me a few. And now that I started to break the news on the ethics violations and the corruption, they said they're going to charge me $1,500. $1,500. I want the employment contract for a couple of people there, Jamie Falkenberry included, and I want James Ford's records. I'm asking for information about James Ford. The DPI wants to charge me $1,500 to get those records. This is not transparency.
No. And you're right, Jenny. It is very much intentional. SEL started under Common Core, the concept of SEL. It's a United Nations thing, a UNESCO thing, a global education thing. And there are currently bills, I haven't researched them yet, but in the federal government regarding the globalization of education. So it's not going to be America or even your local district determining with your input what your child learns. It's going to be UN and a global agenda. And the thing with social emotional learning is it's not directed to at-risk kids. It's a universal
for everyone. That's right.
For everyone. So it's not even like when they're saying, oh, we're protecting the mental health of students. Well, not really. They're collecting information on everyone because it's not directed towards the kids who the teachers notice are at risk. It's just universally handed out and applied. So to say it's protecting mental health is a bit of a stretch when they're not even IDing the kids at risk. They're just surveying everyone.
Well, Savannah and I, we just wrote a story. It'll be published in the Federalist very soon. But, Facebook, Zuckerberg, he is paying for the research and development of the Castle SEL. So Gates, Zuckerberg, the Aspen Institute. Does that sound familiar? That's who they quoted in there. They're paying for this stuff. They're paying to find out information about you and your children. But we're going to talk about that next time. And so, again, to recap, lies are being told. No longer is it a mistruth or misdirection. No. Lies are being told. Why? To get you to stop looking at the top. They do not want you looking at the top. They do not want you to understand that they're getting buku bucks for these programs. They do not want you to look, 56%, somewhere around there, of the state spending is on education. Why in the hell wouldn't we look?
Right.
That's the first place we would look. Any place where a majority of the spending is going, you better believe we're going to open the hood on that bad boy.
Yeah. So again, like the point of this, and we have all those videos posted. There's a Rumble channel I created for No Left Turn, and I spliced the videos and posted them there, so you can watch it yourself.
Please do.
This isn't, we played those videos specifically for a reason, so you don't have to sort through the 3 hours of of videos to get the sense of what's going on. But the inconsistency, and just from 1 week to the next, there's no way going forward that you can believe the leadership at the NCDPI on what is said about SEL or implementation of panorama surveys or data collection, because we've shown a pattern of behavior that already, just with standards, they can't keep it straight.
Right. If the lobbyist, I want you to understand, that goes from the Department of the DPI, he's going from there to our legislatures to ask for money. If that dude is corrupt and his wife's a lobbyist, how the hell can we trust them? We can't do it. So it's up to all of us, guys. So we're gonna give you a few action items. We're gonna wrap this up. But look, what we're saying to you is this: we're gonna keep on unveiling this. We're gonna keep on doing this. This is an information war. We want you to share it with everyone. We need you to share this broadcast tonight with 10 friends, 10 or 20.
Yes.
Okay. We need you to do that.
Is reporting on these inconsistencies.
I am telling you, look, I've been a conservative for the past 20 years. that what the conservative or the Republican media is doing here is insanity. They're actually going after us because we're exposing this. I'm telling you, that's what they're doing. And so no one is going to cover this but us. They're just not going to do it.
Ask why some of the major conservative figureheads in the media haven't discussed the difference between the first and second glossary.
They're covering.
Ask why they haven't discussed the difference between what Catherine Truitt said about the glossary on that public June 10th recorded meeting and the published version of the glossary.
We're the only ones. We're the only ones that are going to do this.
Why isn't that being discussed? It seems like pretty important questions. And actually, as a follow-up, after I emailed Ms. Rhodes the first time, and she answered back without really answering.
This is the DPI spokesperson, by the way. Go ahead.
The communications director. I emailed back asking, are there going to be any, is there going to be any accountability? Like, is anyone going to be demoted or moved off the standards and the curriculum committees because of the plagiarized glossary, which Terry Stoops did report about? And I never got a response. Zero response.
You're not going to get a response. I do not want you to hold your breath, Nancy.
No, I'm not. But I'm just saying.
I do not. And they're
not working, right?
But when I start asking questions about James Ford and about Jamie Falkenberry, there's a link. I'll tell you soon. And I'm being told $1,500, please. And by the way, that's the first time that that's happened to me. The first time. And I mean, I've asked CMS, I've asked every school, virtually every school system that in the state here, never had a response like that. And so look, what do they have to hide? We're going to find out. Of that you can be sure. So look, we want you to keep fighting at the district level. I do want to mention this. It's called Save Our Schools in Guilford County. And these are brave teachers and, well, brave parents who have come out against critical race theory. And they are under fire from the NCAE. They're under fire from the teachers union. They're under fire because, you know, the typical racist, how dare you, et cetera. You don't want it to teach history. And so it's called Great School. I think Great Schools in Guilford.
No, it's Take Back Our School.
Take Back Our Schools. Sorry. Take Back Our Schools. Take Back Our Schools from what? Transgenderism in kindergarten. How about that?
Greensboro is the center.
It's horrible.
One of the centers. That's where the Racial Equity Institute comes out of, and the founder of that is on the Greensboro school board. And they hired this Contreras woman who was fired from Syracuse for destroying that public school system. So
what we need for you guys to do is hit them up on Facebook and show them some love. We need to do that. We're all in this together. We have many, many groups in North Carolina fighting this, and we need to have each other's back. So you need to show them some love. Any attacks will be answered with full force. We had a teacher speak out, Suter Conrad in Charlotte, and we made it clear any attack on one of us is an attack on all of us, and you can best be sure we will answer those attacks. We've got a little something in store for people that try to mess with us for protecting our children. If you're going to tell us that we're racist and to sit down for protecting our children, you're going to have a fight. You have to deal with all of us. And so that's how this is going to work. So go hit them up on Facebook. Definitely hit them up, join them as well. And so the next step, Nancy, when are we meeting again? Do we know?
When are we meeting for a Facebook Live?
When are we meeting for a Facebook Live?
I don't know. They seem to be rather spontaneous. Although I want to hear one of your voices doing those quotes again.
All right. How about this? I'll do a dramatic reading as soon as tomorrow night.
Ooh.
Another dramatic reading.
Okay.
Because we have some more news to drop tomorrow night.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
We got some. You know why? Because it's school board meeting tomorrow. I want to see.
That's right. That's right. I'm so fed up with everything going on so far. I'm just like, I know the curriculum supporting documents for 6 through 12 are totally corrupt because they haven't made any changes. It's all the same people, and you can't believe anything that the Republican leader has. So what?
We got this, man. We got this. So tomorrow night, tune in. I don't know if it's going to be 7 or 8, but another dramatic reading will be in store and more news. And so thank you. Share this. 10 friends, bedtime horror stories. There you go. A lot of people have nightmares about me. a lot. Some of them I'm cool with. Some of them, that's the intent. Some of them, it's unfortunate. It's unfortunate. All right, guys, have a good night. We'll talk tomorrow.
Okay.